Hello, I want to start off with a video here that's going to be a many-part video because this is something I haven't done before. We're going to be putting in lights. So I had this wall here was repointed last summer. I had a guy do that for me. So he went ahead and he took a hammer gun, and actually he had an air-powered hammer gun, and knocked out all the mortar between all the stones so that there was cavities in those spots. Then he went back and scooped by hand mortar into all these, and it wasn't just him, it was about 5 of them that were doing that to do it. So they did the entire side here. But if you notice with this shop that I have, half it's wooden framed, and that is legitimate wooden framing in there, and then half it's stone. So I want to put a light there, and you can see that I already have that metal wire coming out of there, and I'll explain what that is in a moment. I do not have any metal wire coming out through here. This is in the wooden part of the house. And the trick here is that here's the wooden part of the house, and it's framing, and you can see the studs there on the outside, and then over on this side you can see the stone. So that's why this wall here, this doorway, is so deep. Because this is probably about almost 2 feet deep, because it's all masonry. You can even see behind this picture that I have up here that used to be where a flue for a wood burning stove or something. It used to be in this corner here, and it got piped up, went up and into that and out the chimney at the top there. And that was the case a lot of places in here. So that was not the only place that there was a fireplace or a pipe that would go through here. You see in this room here that I have these holes capped off there, but those were also areas where heat would be able to be transferred through. Anyhow, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about putting in lights. So the lights that I have are these. These are lights that my wife purchased. So they are like this. So they go up and they mount straight to the bottom of the plank there. So we'll also have to build some areas up for that. So this is an electrical / construction type project. These lights out here I have hanging down, and when I put this roof in, I actually put the wire, on the boards that are up there, I routed a groove behind the boards for the wire to go into, so you couldn't see them, so that they look like they're just hanging there from nothing. But the wire goes up in that rafter there, and then you can see behind the rafter a little bit of that wiring that I showed you out front. That stuff is called metal clad wire. And metal clad wire is it's like an industrial Romex. And what I like to use it for is when I have to go through masonry. If I have to go through a stone wall or something like that, like both of these have done, I have that metal clad wire coming through there. So you can see what the end of this metal clad wire looks like. It's just pinched off here. Inside of this are a black, a white, and a green. So we have our hot, neutral, and ground wires inside of that. And I have to, you could buy a tool for 30 bucks to cut this metal sheathing off for you, kind of like the yellow pair of pliers that we have in class, cut the Romex off. But I'm too cheap for that. So I'm just going to, if you bend it in a spot 7 inches back like we talked about, then you can go ahead and just use a pair of side snips to cut off the metal. Anyhow, this is called a junction box. And this junction box comes over to an EMT pipe, an electrical metallic pipe here, and that goes down to my light switches. These are 3-way switches because the switches over there also power the same lights that are in here in the shop. Anyhow, these are junction boxes. That's a junction box for a 220 line for my larger power machines that are in here. Like these also. I can move these things around to some degree because I have some slack in the line there. But junction boxes are where we bring wires in and then we have it connected from there. So the thought is, for here, is that here's my panel. My panel has wires running. It has, here's an old MC wire made out of steel. And this runs out, and it's an old one because I didn't replace it because it's the one that goes out to my barn. So it's the only part of old wiring that you see in here, and it goes outside to these wires up here. You can see that they have that little ceramic holders there. You can see at the top there too, the ceramic places where it's tied to. So my wire comes from here. Here's an old switch box that no longer works, and I have just electrical tape there. It's gonna have to be, everything's gonna have to be replaced at some point here, but I'm just not at that stage. Then those wires go underneath the soffit all the way out to my barn. That's what powers the barn. So one of these, next project that we do will probably be digging out. I'll probably have to run from my box in there. I'll run a wire out from here, have it come down into a conduit, have the conduit go down all the way over to the barn, and then I'll have a power supply at the barn there. I have to anticipate what I want to be running in that barn, if I'm going to be running any larger machines or not. So, but anyways, so we're going to be using the metal clad wires. They're going to require special connectors. They're going to require this thing here, which is a 15 amp breaker switch. Remember, we're doing this is a lighting circuit. So I'm going to have my 14 gauge wire come up, go through, come out this side here, come out here to a junction box. That MC wire is going to get run along that joist there to the junction box. That MC wire there is going to come along and get run to the junction box again here. And then we're going to have to run a new one that goes out through here to get out to this one here. Now the issue is that we have to go through that stone wall. So let's see what I've done up there. I'm gonna grab a hammer and something to pull up this floorboards. So this will be going to pull up the floorboards, and we'll take a hammer, and we'll take another hammer also. Take my straight claw. I'm not sure where I put that. All right, I'll just grab this. So let's pull up our floorboards upstairs. Now the other thing about putting wires underneath boards is you have to be concerned about in the future someone using a nail to hammer down that board and going through your wire and shorting your wire. So this is that same wall division here, just directly above it. And you can see how I have run some wire down through there. So I'm going to pull this up. So we can take a look at this. So I don't want to break it. So I want to make sure I pull it up somewhat neatly, because this is the same board that I want to put back. That board's off, and you can see what I've done in the past. So I ran stereo wire for my speakers, and I also ran my Romex through there, and I put them in this EMT, which goes through and also protects it from nails in the future for someone nailing down into it. However, I wanted to make a lot more than this, so I want to pull up my next floorboard here also, and I would like to have it run that all of my second floor electric that has to go into this area here will come through that same spot. So I can take my wires, run them underneath this floor, and then run them up into my wall so I can have outlets here where they're supposed to be, like a normal house. You know, this house is from the 1870s, and it has things like this. You ever seen something like this before? This is called knob and tube. So you saw those knobs that I had up at the electrical outside. Well, it used to be, you know, with wiring going through like this, they would put this piece in first. So this piece of ceramic would go through, and then the wires would go through that ceramic piece, and this would be the insulator to make sure that it didn't burn down the house. The electricity was not quite as well known as it is nowadays. You can see this wire here comes over here and just gets terminated. This is something I cut off a while back. Okay? So what I want to get is power to the second floor, power also to my attic. So the attic is the next thing here. I want to have lights in here that I can turn on whenever I want to turn them on, and not have to worry about it. So eventually power all the way up to the top is what I choose to have. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to have to get, and I'm going to get some of that MC wire. So rather than using the Romex here and putting it into that metal pipe like I have there, which is fine. It looks good, actually. I like the way that it turned out. But I'm just going to put more of that MC through. So I'm going to have to cut out a new area here for it to go through. Maybe even pull up on our floorboard and push it over a little bit further. And then I want to put some MC wires going through in here that I'm going to be able to use for electrical later on. So I want to give myself plenty of passage to get through this thing for future wiring. But for the project that we're going to be working on, again, it's going to be getting exterior lights connected to a 15 amp breaker inside my panel box. So why is this a good project for us? It's a good project for us because it creates a new circuit. So I'll be using, you see how many vacancies I have. I've only used this bottom portion here. I have all this area to work with. It's a 200 amp service for a really small house. So I'm going to be breaking open one of these, try this one right here, putting a 15 amp circuit in here and labeling it as my exterior lights. The one thing that is nice to have also, in addition to exterior lights, is an exterior outlet. So I'll see if that's something that I want to put in as well. But we'll see. Okay? So that's just introducing you to the project. I am going to have to go out and buy the connectors. So the next video that we have will be talking about the different connectors that we have and what I purchased at the store and what's the reason for having it. All right?